Okay guys, so this is going to be a video for the two of you, just so I don't have to make more than one video. I already did last night, Ryan, I already did this to yours last night, but this is going to be an instructional and informational for both of you guys, because the guns are very similar. So Ryan, this is yours, and I did all the steps we're about to go through to this one last night. I found an old firing pin spring. While we're waiting on the new ones to come, I found an old firing pin spring that I used just so I can test this today. I'm going to try and go to the range and just make sure these shoot and everything's good. The one thing I noticed when with yours is this one is, like, if you just look at it, it's in near brand new shape. The bore is not, which is kind of strange, but the outside has been well taken care of. But when you have this pulled back, this ramp pushes the hammer back as it goes through. But also, I noticed that the hammer is held a little bit higher than all the others I've had, and it's locking against the bolt. So when you push on it, or if you just release the hammer a little bit, it'll slam forward on the follower. I'm not sure if that's going to affect cycling or not. If it, I might try and just mess with it a little bit before I go out and shoot it, and smooth down that ramp a little bit so it's not, you see right there, it's kind of catching. So it just takes a tiny bit of pressure and it goes away. So I might mess with that before I leave. Otherwise, everything is super tight on this one. Everything's working well. So there's that one. But this video is mainly to show you both how you're going to maintain these, and I'll go over them again when the video is all done, but I want to show you the oiling points and things like that here and kind of show you guys what these look like. Now this is Brandon's. It's a wartime commercial versus the pre-war, and it's a little bit more worn, but that's pretty much it. The first step you want to do is take out the magazine follower. All right, pull the hammer back. And it's going to work this same way with the bull barrel on. The bull barrel will be flush mount to the bottom of this flat right here. And you will just unscrew the flash hider and booster combo to let everything slide back. Then you'll push up on this lever and push the entire assembly backwards. This is held in by a coupler. You just pull it down and the locking block will fall away and you have your entire upper here. Let's see if the screwdriver will work. Let's see. So we need to then remove the firing pin. Then remove the bolt stop. This is the thing you want to inspect often after you fire it to make sure that it's not getting damaged or cracked. I looked at these are both in really great shape, so there's no worries yet about that. You can pull your entire bolt assembly out, your recoil spring. We'll be replacing these when these springs come. But for now, they are fine. But we're going to start with oiling. We're just going to put a little bit of oil drops right here. Couple drops right there, couple where the locking block. Now, Brandon, I did notice this on yours. There are a couple tiny chips there, and I'm not sure, I haven't seen that yet on one. How this interacts is like this inside the gun. There's not enough surface damage or anything to really worry me. This is the part that I would worry so much about not catching. If this was going to shear off from this lug here, all that looks in good shape. These have just taken a ding at some point for whatever reason. Just inspect this, and if it starts to get worse, we want to think about replacing the bolt. But everything else here looks great. It's all numbers matching, so would be a shame to have to lose that. And I don't think you're really going to need to worry about it too much. Those surfaces come into contact, you know, it's a small portion of it, and the main surface is fine. I don't see any other cracks or anything like that, but I did notice that. So just inspect it every once in a while. So anyway, I'm gonna oil this point on both sides here. Just a little bit. Give it a nice... Both of these guns had 0 oil on them. I mean, they were dry as a bone. So anyway, I'm going to oil those 2 points. Slide that back in. You're going to need something to push your recoil spring down when you set your bolt stop back. So you push your bolt stop here. Use a large Allen wrench or something else. Push it down past the bolt stop while you're pushing pressure on that, and then push it in all the way when you release this, and it'll lock that spring inside. Now we want to put a little bit of oil on the firing pin spring and the firing pin body. Reinsert that. It has a keyway, so it only goes one way. Press it back in and turn. It's kind of difficult sometimes. These are with old springs. Let me get this closer to me. There we go. It's harder when you're reaching around the camera. Anyway, once you get that in, you'll be good to go on that. Okay. Next, you want to put some oil on these rails. Just a drop and let it run down. Another drop and let it run all the way down to the edge. You'll see it start to run. It'll run all the way down. Just let it pool up at the bottom, that's fine. Then you will just lay it aside. Now, this generally won't need much maintenance. When you're going to oil this, you really want to, you know, it'd be best, let's just take it all apart. Okay, so you have, this is going to be your latch. This keeps the whole thing inside the frame of the gun. Pull that out. Now, to release the hammer spring, you're going to need to lay the hammer down. So you push up on the sear arm, lay it down. Now you can work this loose. There's a lug. You can see that there's a little catch that it fits into. So try and push up on the spring as you're wiggling it out. That comes free. Then this can rotate up and out. It also has a lug on it, so it locks in. Then the next step is going to be this coupler is very important, and we'll get to that in a minute, but this plunger here plunges the hammer spring against the hammer, and that's all that tension there. You need an Allen wrench or something. Allen wrench works best for me. Lay it on the recess right here, and with both hands grab it and push it in, and that coupler may fall away. Sometimes it doesn't, and it's not. So if it doesn't, try another method, and you got to get a really good handle on it and push it in, and it's not going to just fall away. So we're going to try it again this way. I'm going to try it with 2 hands so I can pull it out. This is going to be a little bit more difficult. This is really the most pain in the butt about the whole thing. And if you really don't need to do this very often, if at all, for a long time. But since these have 0 oil on them, I really want to take that out. Now I want you to notice how this coupler comes out. It usually will fall away. The C is the curve, or the C shape, is facing forward. There's a lot of spring pressure here, so be really careful that that doesn't shoot out and you lose any pieces. But it's always facing forward, okay? That's going to be really important when we put it back together. If you notice, it's just dry. It's just super dry and even a little gunked up. The other one wasn't at all. We'll take all these plungers out so we can oil those surfaces too. The next part is, the only thing holding in the hammer now is the safety. So the safety goes halfway and then it'll just come straight free. The last thing is this retainer pin, which is also a spring. Pull that straight out and then you have your complete piece right here. So putting it back together, put your hammer in. Actually, first what we're going to do is we're going to put a tiny bit of oil on these surfaces here. Get a nice thin coat. Lay that back in there. Get your retainer pin. A little bit of oil on that. And like I said, since I'm doing this now, you're probably not going to need to do this for quite some time unless you just really want to take it apart. Put that back in. Okay. Then we're going to get our safety. The safety can go in any time, but if you just do it now, you don't have to worry about it later when there's spring tension on here. Again, it goes in when it's, it goes in when it's halfway between the two stops. It goes straight in and then straight down. And it has to be in the unlocked position. Now, the next hardest part is going to be putting this hammer spring back in. It may not be as hard when you guys get the guns because I need to lighten these springs. So I'm going to be cutting some coils off of it, so the tension is going to be less. These springs are pretty hard right now. So just put some oil along that spring and that shaft. This stuff should move freely. The prong goes up down that channel. Now here's the tricky part. This is the part I really, really detest. This needs to go with the C facing forward. And it's really important that you get this facing forward only. If you can put it in the wrong way, and if you do that, if you fire the gun, it will lock in and become inoperable. There's no way to get it apart, shy of a gunsmith drilling holes in the entire gun and doing lots of bad things to your gun that you really don't want to do. So you need to hold this down and then press until it starts to drop in, and you're not likely to get it to drop in all the way the first try. So once it's halfway in, get your whatever you're using for leverage, and then press it in. Oh my God, it's so hard. Please go in. There it is. Once it starts to fall in, you just keep working it until it just falls in completely and it's flush. And then that's it. So now you start to put back everything else. Let's get a light coat of oil on all these little parts. Just a little bit. I already have oil on my glove. This one is press up and in. That's it. Pull the hammer back and it will lock. Put your latch back in. This is also an oil point. Actually, you know what? That's funny. Ryan's had a hole right here for oiling, but Brandon, yours doesn't. So just put a drop of oil right there and a drop of oil back there. And I would put one right in the slot right there. Okay, so now your locking block is done, oiled, you're good to go. This goes with the tooth facing down. Then you just line this up like so and press until you hear it click. There's nothing really much to oil here. You could put a tiny bit of oil on the mag release, and that's about it. Trigger usually is pretty free working. You don't have to worry about that. Slide it in. Let's get this back to where you can see it. You may need to press up slightly to get it all to seat. It's really hard to do working around the camera. Ugh. There we go. That's why it wasn't going. Okay. There. Press it in. Make sure the latch is down. Hammer works. Trigger releases it. Make sure the safety works. Now, the wartime commercial is different from the pre-war. You have to make the safety work when it's hammers back. You have to pull the hammer back more and then push up. The other one, you can just push it up, but it's really hard because that one's so new. Right? So then we just want to check everything, make sure strong springs. The gun cams back. Free falls backwards. Last bit of oil is going to be on your follower. Just a little bit on those rails. There's only a couple points of contact there. Here and here. That's it. Slide that back in. Now we're going to test it again. Make sure it, oh, golly, it's really tough to do around this camera. There we go. So once you cam that back, it's easier. It's easier when you don't have a camera in your way to try and reach around. But anyway, so that should lock on the follower. This should come free. And Ryan, I'm going to work on yours to make sure that that doesn't become an issue. All right, so that's good. So that's it. That's all you need to do to oil it. And I would just, put a light coat of oil around the whole thing once you handle it, when you're done shooting it, just when you're wiping everything down. The last thing I need to do before these go anywhere is clean the bores real quick. Golly, that's hard to do. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to clean the bores, and then I'm going to go fire a couple rounds through them and make sure everything's good.